Hello, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours Arbitrage, Season 3, Episode 9. I've got Mike Phillips joining me today, but looks like some other folks are involved too. So Sly Fox is also here. Maybe I can pick on him a little bit. We'll see. We actually have something to talk about this week that's very timely, and that's what I'm grateful for. Nomi is officially launching when the round opens on Saturday, which is a pretty big deal. Thankfully, in this iteration of the tournament, Kazutsugi, changes have been sparse. Previous iterations of the tournament, the updates were about every 6 months. And so I am kind of excited to see what Nomi's all about. And while we wait for Michael Phillips, perhaps I can put Sly Fox on the spot and give us like the big picture view of Nomi. Oh, there he is. But still, I'm gonna let Sly Fox take it for a second.
Wait, big picture view of Nomi.
Yeah, what is Nomi?
It's not a question for me. It's definitely.
Well, we tried. Michael Phillips is joining me. Technically, he's my special guest, but I don't have an interview for him. We're just going to talk about Nomi. So I was saying that I'm very lucky that y'all bailed me out, but really it's very timely that Nomi is launching on Saturday. And so this works out perfectly. And so the first question I had for Sly Fox, just to kind of kick things off, is what is Nomi? Like a big picture view.
Yeah, big picture view, I would say Nomi is a more accurate depiction of kind of the return stream that we're looking for on the hedge fund. So it aligns you guys better with the hedge fund and how we can make money. So if your predictions are good on Nomi, then it's more helpful for us than if you have good predictions for Kazutsugi.
Okay, so that's the big picture view. Now tell us what's different between the current tournament structure and what starts on Saturday.
So as far as the data goes, I guess the big change that users should care about is that you have to submit with the prediction column being called prediction instead of prediction Kazutsugi. We're just generalizing that. If you're retraining at all, if you haven't already retrained on the Nomi data, then you should know the new target column is just called target instead of target Kazutsugi. So it's just these kind of like small changes that might break some pipelines, but overall it's working towards generalization. But those are really the only big changes. Besides, obviously, the target is different itself, and then of course there's 6 more validation years, which is something that people will definitely want to look at.
I think we've got some questions about that and more on the target as well, but I'm sure we'll get there. You've been working on this for a while. When did you start working on this?
So this was actually, Michael Oliver did like the brunt of the research work to make it a really good target and have good performance and all that kind of thing. And that was probably maybe a little bit over a month ago when he started working on it.
It's been longer than that for sure.
Maybe I have no concept of time.
I know. I think everybody's concept of time has kind of slipped with the COVID era. It's like Groundhog Day number 112. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally
I guess he gave you the file over a month ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, he must have been working on it 3 months ago or something.
Yeah.
And in reality, it probably means 5 months. But I don't know. Yeah. We'll let him satisfy that question. What is you've looked at the data, you're structuring the pipeline and all that. What are some gotchas that folks should be aware of?
Gotchas. I think. Well, there could be. I'm worried about some like Numerai API stuff. Where if you like the way it works right now is a lot of people's pipelines is you'll pull the active tournament number list and then use a function like convert tournament number to name, and then you get Kazutsugi, and then you read targets and predictions and things like that with using this name Kazutsugi, which we're retiring basically, and just generalizing it to just be target. So I don't expect it to be an issue for most prediction pipelines. If you're just reading in the targets, reading in the features and predicting on the tournament file, and then just writing those predictions, it should work like it always does, except for that one prediction Kazutsugi to prediction change. But yeah, the training stuff, I think you might have to like delete a for loop or you iterate through the active tournaments or something like that to get it going. That's probably the main gotcha that I'm worried about.
So there's not anything that's like catastrophic danger ahead in terms of the predictions being completely out of line with the target or, nothing that That's what I guess that's what I'm fishing
I
for.
see. So you mean like data based?
I would say a destruction of our pipeline is actually a pretty big gotcha too, because if we are dependent upon compute and it breaks because of the tournament name change or an API update or what have you, yeah, that can be problematic. But thankfully, the emails now go out and let us know if compute failed, which is a wonderful, wonderful change from what we had. And you're welcome for beta testing that in production and discovering.
Thank you.
The big, huge, gaping hole in
Thank you.
all that. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're driving our product roadmap. I'm telling you.
Look, I test it live. I do no beta testing or nothing. We're doing it live, fam. And when I say live, I literally mean it, like right now. I do coding examples and stuff for folks. So this is pretty exciting. Wiggle Muse hopped on, and that reminded me that he found something fairly interesting in terms of actual target column between the different versions that were given to us. Can you tell us what happened? Give us a little background on that.
Yeah, sure. So pretty much the targets are made with some kind of like library, like optimizer library. And when Michael did the original version like a month ago, it was basically on a different version of the optimizer using like a slightly different slightly different code, whether it's versioning or just like package in general or algorithm. So it just solved like slightly differently basically between the two versions of it. But it's like, it really shakes out to be more like a rounding error than it does like actual difference in target. Like you'll notice like none of the targets actually moved more than one bucket in any direction. So it was just kind of borderline cases where we didn't know if it should be in bucket like 0 or 1 or bucket 1 or 2. And it just kind of like rounded on the other side of that line. So that's really the only difference. I can't imagine it making a difference to any kind of predictions. Wiggle Moose, you said a few of them did move more than one bucket.
Ooh.
9 of them did.
Okay.
Yeah, so it really is just like an optimizer like bug difference. I mean, version difference though. So nothing to worry about. And I think somebody asked like if they should retrain on the new Nomi.
Yep.
And it's like Michael Oliver is not doing it on any of his models. It's like just really not significant enough.
I mean, if it's 9, that's not that big of a deal.
The new data that is coming from the API is the official one.
Okay. The official data is from the API, and that comes out on Saturday. Yeah. Do you anticipate the start of the tournament being on time or slightly late? Ooh.
We'll see how the submission lambda testing goes today.
Okay.
I think it'll be on time, honestly, but as long as I do my job today.
Sorry for delaying you.
Endpoint slower.
Will it what? Well, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Will it make the submission endpoint slower?
It will by a couple of seconds. Yeah. Like maybe 7 to 9 seconds it'll take, something like that.
I think we will need a little extra time to. Now I assume we're losing some of the test data, right? It's being replaced by the new validation data. So like what I usually do is just append the live onto the end. So I can't do that this week. I have to go and check what things I've lost and match it all up. So it's going to take a little longer. So hopefully it won't take like till midnight or something to get that. But I usually don't bother to do it until Sunday, but I'll do it on Saturday this week.
Yeah, I usually advise my students to just think of Sunday as the start, because you're never late and you're never early. Sometimes, if you're not paying attention and you open the training data before the round actually opens, then you're technically early, and Sunday just kind of avoids that. But yeah, you guys triggered the compute engine at like what, 4 p.m. Eastern or something like that. I don't know if there's an official time for it, but Sunday makes it safe.
It's whenever the data is ready.
Whenever the data is ready. Got it. So I did close the Slido So I think we can probably dive into some of that. Anonymous is asking, can we get the example predictions file soon? But actually, I have a different way of asking that question. When will you make the example model available for us?
Yeah, the plan is for it to come out with the regular zip file, like on round open. The new model will be, like the new example predictions will be using the Nomi integration test, and integration test will be using, it'll be trained on Nomi.
So it's the same hyperparameters that have existed before. Do you serialize that model, or is that retrained every week?
It is serialized, yeah. So we download it every week.
That's been speculated for many, many, many days, and thank you for letting us know. Is it? I know somebody asked in Rocket Chat, and maybe it was in Daily Scores. All this stuff blends to me because, I get chat from so many different avenues. But is it possible to give us that serialized file so that we can locally replicate the work?
I don't really see why not. I mean, I'm not gonna promise it. I gotta ask Anson or something, But it seems like we should be able to.
Sorry.
We caught Sly Fox multitasking.
What did you say? What did you want?
The serialized example model so that we can have it locally and be able to, do whatever it is people want to do with it.
Exactly replicate the examples.
Oh, so you don't have to train it yourselves?
Well, no, because if there is any difference between versioning or kernels or what have you, so that we get exactly the same output that y'all do.
I mean, maybe, but I would say that's priority 3.
Yeah,
I think there's better stuff that we can do for you guys. But yes, eventually. I'll put it at the very end of the queue. I think right now the issue is internally we pickle it, and pickling is not the best way to share trained models.
I agree.
So we probably have to investigate some type of cross-platform.
And CRAT while you're at it.
I would say that's a higher priority item than having the serialized example model.
Yeah. I think maybe more information about CRAT is coming soon.
Yeah.
More learnings and stuff to share.
I just assume that the Nomi release is taking priority or getting CRAT out. Yeah. I speculated that the other day, so that makes sense. So in terms of, let's just recap this question because I had a bunch of sidebars on that. The example predictions, the CSV file will be included in the tournament data download that opens on Saturday when the data is released. And so that model will have been trained on the official Nomi data.
Correct.
And available in the file. And the godfather of Nomi has just joined, which makes sense because he's floating in the clouds. So
he also looks like he's wearing this amazing black cape.
GRB had a question in Twitch. They could unpickle it and share it with us as an XGBoost save_model. Yeah, he's right because XGBoost does have its own serialization thing.
Can I ask what the goal is there? Why do we care about getting the exact same example predictions? It's not we carefully picked the right random seed or something to get the right example predictions. It's kind of arbitrary for us as well.
Yeah, I personally don't know why it's necessary to have the exact same predictions, but I'd leave it to the folks that desired having it. And I can't remember exactly who asked. I'm just speaking on behalf of those folks. Oh, so Jeremy has something in Zoom chat. I'm all over the place, so I apologize. It's more a comment than a question. I noticed that my validation results on era 121 and 206 are improving with Nomi training dataset. However, I'm having a hard time having validation sharpe ratio greater than 1 after adding new validation data from eras 207 to 212. Frown face. We have 3 team members on. I want to say thank you guys because I know it's smack in the middle of your morning. And yeah, so thanks for coming on and talking about this stuff with us. So that was the example predictions file and the actual predictions themselves. The example model, we talked about that too. So, and I think we also inherently answered the second question, which was, will the same model integration test be used as is and just retrain on the Nomi target for the example predictions? And the answer to that was yes. JM Num has a very good question, and that's also relevant to my interests. Hello, will Numerox work with Nomi? I use it to handle the data and submissions.
Numerox, man. Numerox is about to get deprecated.
Kill it.
So I don't know if you guys know the backstory of Numerox. There used to be a legendary user named BPS.
BPS.
It was like the godfather in many ways.
He was OG. I'm telling you, he was really, really good.
He was OG. He's really good, but he stopped playing and he stopped maintaining Numerox. And I guess we just don't have the energy to maintain it. It's slipped a little bit behind. I think Numerai API is definitely the way to go. It's a much simpler API. It's a much smaller, more lightweight library, and we make sure to keep it up to date. The Numerox is no longer going to be maintained.
Death to Numerox. Long live Numerox.
Long live Numerox. Long live Numerai API.
Indeed. Okay, so basically, long and short of it is it may or may not work.
Yeah, it
probably won't work.
Not work.
Probably won't, because if I remember correctly, it looks at the tournament number and does something with the tournament number to determine the columns. Cunan's weighing in on Twitch. So for Numerox, Kazutsugi is tournament number 8, and this is kind of what I just said. I just didn't see it. So you should be okay if you keep the tournament name Kazutsugi, but that could be confusing. You could also change to an integer 8, since Nomi is also tournament number 8. I'm not 100% following what he's saying, but I think I know what he's saying. If in the API, I guess if Nomi is tournament number 8, then Numerox should be okay.
I see. Okay, yeah.
I think that's what he's saying.
I guess maybe a question for Mike is, so I believe compute actually relies on Numerox right now? Potentially?
I don't.
Mike, did you get a chance to look through that?
Think so.
I haven't looked at any compute Numerox business.
I mean, I'm using compute and I'm not using Numerox. So
I'm also using compute and I'm using both.
Okay, cool.
But we'll see if I know mine's going to break because it always does.
Okay. Well, everyone will be online this weekend to fix any small API issues.
I might be able to do like a Twitch stream, like just the open office hours dealio when it launches, because I'm sure I'll have issues too, and maybe we can all just hop on and figure it out. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe. I reserve the right to save my weekend. And also Cunan says, or just use Numerai API because that's a better choice. All right, so JamNum, basically Numerox may or may not work, but you're encouraged to end your reliance on Numerox and migrate to Numerai API. I would say that the reason that I use Numerox is because it automatically converts the features to float 32. And I do not know because I don't use it, but Numerai API may not do that. So what I did is I took the, from my Feather format thing, I made that dictionary for the import of the data in pandas so that it imports certain columns as float 32. I took that joblib file, put it in my compute so that when I download the tournament data from the Amazon AWS link, then I'm importing it directly into float 32. But some of my models rely on Numerox, some just rely on the actual tournament files, and that's why I use both. But
there's some commented out code in the example script that actually lets you read it in as like float 16 or float 32 or something as well. Just like, but straight from S3 using pandas. Kind of nice.
JRB says the examples in compute still use Numerox. We'll have to help fix that.
We'll have to fix that.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff, JRB. Thank you. Joe, do I really need to retrain all my models from the old Nomi target to the new Nomi target? I'm going to extend that. I'm going to extend that question. Do we really need to retrain our models at all? Technically, the answer is no. However, a best practice would be to say yes. But now let's go specifically to Joe's question. Old Nomi versus new Nomi. Do those 6 columns really make a difference? Or 6 targets make a difference?
I would say
he's talking about Nomi version since it changed
Right.
a little bit. And on that point myself, I did try training a number of very simple, straightforward models, because the first one, when I discovered that issue, they were different. The one that I was training was a little bit worse than it had been before, and that's how I found out about it. And then I went and trained 3 or 4 other models, old versus new Nomi version, which is 3,000 rows difference in the whole training set. And all of the new ones were actually slightly better. So whether you want to retrain or not, I don't know. It maybe was a tiny difference, but it actually improved overall. So it's not any worse anyways.
Yeah, it sounds like this is going to be a question of how much of a pain it is for you to retrain. It is going to be slightly more accurate to retrain on it, but it's really, yeah. It's
9 rows though.
No, 9 rows moved more than 2 buckets. It was 3,000 something. About half a percentage of rows moved 1 bucket, and 9 out of 500,000 moved 2 buckets.
Were they concentrated in any eras, or was that dispersed through the data?
Dispersed. In each era, it's only a tiny number.
Yeah, so that gives me a little more confidence not to retrain, because I really don't desire spending all that time retraining, to be honest with you.
You can figure about half percentage per era. It was pretty dispersed.
Okay. And a minimal move overall. And Michael Oliver, I think it was mentioned that you are not going to retrain, that you're good to go.
No, I mean, they're like 99.6% correlated.
Right.
Yeah, what I saw could easily be a random effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And,
like what size of a difference did you see?
I don't even remember, but I was worried that it was actually going to be slightly worse, and then I would want to hang on to the old Nomi target, but it was not worse. It was a tiny bit better in all the cases except for the first one. So it could very easily just be a 50-50, and a tiny. I'm just looking at the validation set, so I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Yeah.
But I would use the new one going forward. Certainly, there's no reason you shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I even looked at the 3,000 rows that had changed to see if there was like any information there. There isn't.
Good for you.
So.
Yeah.
I love this community. That's amazing. Some of the stuff we all do. JRB has a question for you, Wiggle Muse. Is your training pipeline reproducible or deterministic? Because JRB says his is not. Mine is not.
I was just testing specifically that question. So I made some very straightforward models that I wouldn't even submit. Just like if I make a linear model with this one, if I make a linear model with that one, let's try some trees. Let's try some trees again. Stuff like that. So it wasn't anything sophisticated at all.
Okay.
But the differences were tiny.
Yeah,
they were actually better in the middle.
I think JRB's point would be that because it may not be deterministic is why you see the difference, but
absolutely
other people seem to have replicated that as well. So Joe, the answer is you don't need to necessarily train it between old Nomi and new Nomi because the difference is extremely minimal. We're talking 0.4% difference in correlation. But the difference between Kazutsugi and Nomi is, I forget. It was like 6.5%, I want to say. Michael Oliver, I think you're the one that said that.
It's more than that. I think
more than that?
They're about 86%.
Oh, okay.
Correlated. So
that's quite a bit.
Different, yeah.
Especially with the signal being so weak in the data set anyway, that big of a difference, you definitely want to retrain. So for anybody listening, if you have not retrained your models, now is the time to do so. Or if you retrain every week and your pipeline is set up like that, then you'll be fine. You just get the new data and your models will adjust. But you might want to do some validation testing before you submit, just in case like your hyperparameters need to be retrained or retuned, sorry. Okay, Anonymous, as Nomi is new, how does this square with rolling scores? Are the targets pretty much correlated? And then they're asking, like, does that question make sense? I think I know what they're saying. So just how reflective are our previous scores with what we're going to see now? I think that's the question.
So yeah, just in case the other part of the question has to do with like, are in progress rounds that are like rolling being changed over to Nomi? That's not the case. All the rounds that are already in existence will continue to be scored with Kazutsugi all the way through.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, as far as like them being correlated, like does your reputation still apply because now it's a brand new target? I think Michael can talk more about it, about if different models look better with Nomi than Kazutsugi. Like how much of a difference in which models are good do you expect to see?
I don't really expect to see any big differences. Yeah, your score. If we had not told you that we were started scoring against Nomi, you would not have even noticed.
Really? There's a lot of speculation among my audience. I guess I can call them that, my friends really, that we'll see lower average correlation with Nomi, even though our sharpe may go up, our absolute payout will decrease.
I mean, I think like as I said, you like if your scores dropped by like 5% on average over like a 10-year period, would you even notice when in a rolling over a 20-week period? Or they went up 5%, you wouldn't notice. Is my point. It would be lost within the noise of just like how good a 20-week period is. Yeah, that's what I mean. Just like it's in the sort of small differences that if it went up or down by 5%, you wouldn't even notice, and it's in that sort of range.
Yeah, I think it will go down from what I've seen. What my guess. I'm one of those people who said that, but I also agree we wouldn't notice. But it also sort of sounds like you're saying, you know, we could just steal from you 5%, you wouldn't notice. That's true.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
in a
I think
year, we could say, hey, I made a little less than I thought.
I would say, yeah, but I think it's, I think you'll have to regularize your models better to get the same scores. Because
I think our models will improve as we adjust.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Hey, Williams, help me remember to ask about what we discussed regarding MMC.
Do you want to bring up that now?
No, just remind
maybe
me.
Next,
we'll get
next
to
week,
it.
I think
we'll get to it.
Bugging Mike about that one.
I want to plant the seed, but just help me remember so I don't forget. We have a question from our Japanese audience. Unfortunately, I do not know any Japanese, so my apologies, but I really appreciate some of you staying up super, super late and hanging with us. What was the reason for the Nomi change? Was it to improve the sharpe ratio, prevent overfitting, or to change the overall trading strategy? I think I've lost my connection.